Hello, welcome to this, I don't even know the number that we're at right now. Some small number of Egan and ChatGPT. ChatGPT and Egan? One of those walk into a bar experiences, live streaming, wherein we take some sort of really boring topic of some sort of subject that maybe you care about a lot and maybe you really just don't, and we come up with how to turn that into, I don't know, like something that is painfully interesting and deeply intellectually vibrant. In a minute, what I'm going to ask you to do is to throw some topics into the chat. Feel free to do that even right now. So just for an example, just a second, I feel really silly. We did say life sciences to this, right? I think we did. I have ADHD real bad. Oops, mouse. But it's possibly said physical sciences instead. sciencesweird.com/AI-livestream. And today's is life science. Good. Yes, excellent. Throw those in and we will turn those into something wonderful. Something that hopefully you'll be able to walk away with. It will not be boots ready, but it will be, ready for you to actually start to use for your own self-learning, for kids of lots of different ages, for adults also. And we can kind of go with that. What will happen? So start throwing those in. What will happen in this is that I will be a robot. I'm not going to be a robot. We will show you this robot in the flesh, ChatGPT, and we will use it and Kieran Egan's tools. Oh, did I not put that in? Just a second. I downloaded it. I got it ready to put in, and it's right. Oh, because I took it in as a different. There. Egan's set of, can you see what is going on? Oh, because I didn't update that. And I didn't. Embarrassing. Sorry, I just got a new iPad. It's a thing. Built-in camera, iPad splotch. Let me splotch. I want to, not the splotch, I want to copy this. I want to iPad Pro. It's a new iPad Pro. Right, this. iPad Pro, delete. iPad 13-inch. Great. So we will use Egan's set of tools and kinds of understanding to do some really wonderful stuff. Great. Okay, so to take a look at this. Nobody is giving me any of these. Okay, so we are then going to introduce the actual robot of today, ChatGPT. I'm having a hard time moving my mouse between screens. I wonder if I accidentally changed something. Ba-ba-doo. I move that. Oh, there's a reason for that. Sorry. Jeez. Why is it so big, though? Weird. This will do us, at least right now. Good enough for government work. Yeah, good. There we go. And I'll put myself actually on the other side of that. Nope. Because you don't need to focus on the other stuff so much. And then that's good. We'll take it. Oh, I know why I did that, because then you can't see the first part of when I'm chatting. Well, okay, I will just creepily move myself up then, like this. I will be in this corner. Pay no attention to the man hovering bizarrely in the corner of his own thing. Great, wonderful. We're going to call that good for right now, and probably we'll change it later. So let me start then by asking ChatGPT to list some boring topics in the life sciences that kids have to learn, but don't enjoy, one, enjoy, or two, particularly understand well at the end. Great. So here we have ChatGPT. Oh, I have it set right now to the model of Mini, O1 Mini right now, which kind of does a research by looking at a lot of things. You know what? We don't need me. Yeah, we could do. Best of every possible world. Splotch, opacity. I could just be a ghost in the corner. Yes, that is what we will do with me. And I'll go over here. I think this could do it. Hey, this is actually great. Okay, best ever. Certainly, while life sciences encompass a wide range of fascinating topics, some areas can blah, 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 blah. One of the problems, as you might know about with ChatGPT, is that it's wordy. You can use special instructions to make it better with that. Feel free to throw in any questions as we go along on this about ChatGPT, and I'll try to answer those. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I was hitting the wrong button. How embarrassing. Good. Okay. Make my mouse back there. Cellular metabolism and biochemical pathways. Terrible. Oh my gosh. This could be great because so far in Science is Weird, I've gotten to just have to teach like that these things exist. And we've given, like one of them, which was the production of glucose. And it's so hard. That could be fun. And that's linked to cellular metabolism. That could be fun to do. Genetic inheritance patterns, we'll call this number 2. We'll just go ahead and vote for one of these. So go ahead and type in 1 or 2 or, we're going to do taxonomy or classification systems, 3. So kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Yeah. You know what? I have some thoughts on this one too, so that might be kind of fun. Detailed plant physiology. I got in a fight about this actually online yesterday, so that could be fun too. And then human anatomy. Let's not do human anatomy and physiology. Let's keep these. Let's keep this first 4. Okay, so right now, you are going to get a chance to vote. Number 1 will be cellular metabolism. I can actually write this down too. Let me write this down, then I'll share my iPad. So actually, I'll just go like this. Number 1 is cell metabolism. Number 2 is genetic inheritance. Number 3 is taxonomy, kingdom, phylum, etc. Axon, OMI, and number 4 is plant physiology, the parts of a plant. In fact, can I even recommend that we do parts of a plant? We'll do what it said there, if we vote for that one. Okay, great. I'm going to give you, 20 seconds. Go ahead and type in number 1, number 2, number 3, or number 4, and we will be good for this. Hi, Atlas. Oh, wow. So far, it's unanimous. It's not unanimous now. Shannon, if you can make sure that you're chatting to everybody, not just to me. 3, 2, 1, and all right. We have 2, 2, 1, and 4. So that means we're going to go to 2. This is great because of all the topics of biology, I actually understand genetic inheritance the least well. Okay, does anyone want to throw in anything that they particularly want to understand by the end of this? Or, imagining that you were teaching this to a kid or to another adult, like one of the things that you would need to have them to do. Because in some ways, we need to make this specific enough, right? Because we can just make it better. Eganizing things can deal with really big things and really small things. But for what we're doing right now, smaller is better-ish. To come up with like a 1-day or a 1-week-long lesson rather than like a 1-year-long lesson, we'll be able to come up with cooler things. So here, and actually, you go ahead and throw those in. But of course, I can ask ChatGPT for this also. And now I'm going to actually cheat with this, and I'm just going to hit this button down here. List specific topics inside of genetic inheritance that kids have a famously difficult time understanding, and also, by the way, adults do too. Only list them. Give me no descriptions. See, because it's wordy. I'm going to make myself darker. Not happy with myself being not as dark. Splotch, camera and screen display capture. I mean, I could just take myself off of here, too. That would be fine. What? Oh, no. Wrong thing. It is the splotch, of course. Filters, splotch, opacity. There's always like this weird thing going on with the opacity with these. Okay. Is that better? I don't know. It's better now. Okay. Here's what it gives me. Oh, I didn't hit enter. That's embarrassing. Here, enter. I'm going to make myself smaller, too. We don't need this much of me. There we go. Okay, now let's see what it came up with. Polygenic inheritance, epistasis. I don't even know what that is. Incomplete dominance, oh man, this is so good. This really is like with a black hole, my understanding. Sex-linked traits, I know what that one is. Genetic linkage and recombination. Pleiotropy, I used to know what that is. Mitochondrial inheritance. I do know what that is. Genomic imprinting and Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. I don't know what that is at all. I know who Hardy was. I think I know the Hardy that they're talking about. Okay, go ahead and pick one of those, 1 through 10, or I will pick it. I'll give you 10 seconds to do that. People are like, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and okay, great. It is number 1 then, polygenic inheritance. So in the next, it's already quarter after the hour. This is terrible. In the next very short amount of time, we are going to come to understand this. We are going to understand this awesomely. You're going to do it only, more or less only, maybe entirely only with ChatGPT, using Egan's tools to make them awesome and meaningful and mattering and showing how they already do those things. And then we are going to turn this into a kind of a lesson sort of plan or something. Okay. Right now, just from 0 to 10, how much do you feel like you understand what polygenic inheritance is? Your mark it set and go. I'm going to bring this image of Egan's kinds of understandings into this one document that we already have, so I can reference it a lot, because I'm going to use it to do some things. Okay. 0 and 5 are the answers. Okay, that's great. That's great. Feel free to say anything that you know to help us do this, but, or you can make it hard. You can even lie. Sure, what the heck? You can totally lie. You can totally lie. What the heck? Let's make this more interesting. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is say, okay, polygenic inheritance, I don't know anything about it. So I'm actually going to start in a spot that I don't typically for one of these things. I'm going to start in philosophic. Philosophic understanding is the kind of understanding that people came up with, like starting in ancient Greece, but like really talking a lot about like, okay, it's always going to be me being a ghost. Ugh, I gotta make that better. I'll just take myself away or have myself. The people came up with ancient Greece, but then really started cooking at in the late Renaissance with scientific understanding at the very least to really understand things. And truly, genetics only comes about at about 1900, Gregor Mendel and all of that. Okay, so I want a definition of this. I am interested also in the story that this comes from, which, as I've just said, with Gregor Mendel, I have some understanding of already. So let's start with this. Give me a very simple explanation. No. Bad. I don't want an explanation. I want a definition. Gosh darn it. I hit the wrong button. This button right here, you talk, it hears you, and then it talks back. I actually want to see this written out. Give me 3 very quick definitions of what polygenic inheritance means from different sources. And then I have to hit this again. Wow, that was fast. Okay, so we have polygenic inheritance refers to the phenomenon where multiple genes contribute to a single phenotypic trait, resulting in a continuous range of possible outcomes. How much do you understand that? I do, actually. But if you don't, go ahead and say it, and we can have it explain that. Polygenic inheritance involves several genes working together to influence a particular characteristic, such as height or skin color, leading to gradual variations in the population. A continuous range and gradual is what I'm seeing right there already. Genetics research, polygenic inheritance is the genetic architecture, it's interesting, where multiple alleles at different loci, places, literally locations, interact additively or epistatically to shape complex traits. Okay. How much do you feel like you understand that? I am going to get it to give it to me in a different way slightly by saying this. Please summarize each of those separately at a 5th grade level. comment on how they're different. Okay. Polygenic inheritance is when lots of different genes work together to create one trait, like skin color or height, making many different versions of that trait possible. Oh, I feel like I understood this, but now I understand it, if you can catch my drift. Polygenic inheritance happens when several genes team up to affect something like how tall you are or what color your skin is, causing gradual changes in these traits among people. So there's some examples here, and I appreciate that. Gradual changes, many different versions. It's not like some people have pure white skin and some people have pure black skin and some people have pure whatever skin, right? Like these things are all over a range and everyone, even inside of a family, differs quite a bit. Means that many different genes combine their effects to shape complex traits, with these genes either adding up to their influences or interacting in special ways, how they're different. The first emphasizes the number of genes traded in one trait. The second highlights teamwork among genes leading to graduate. This is the number versus teamwork. That's different. The third points out that genes add up or interact to shape complex characteristics. Oh, interact must be what that funny word was, epistatically? Is that what it was? Yeah, epistatically, right? So, okay. I didn't even know that word. So there we go. So it's like a math thing there. Language complexity, yeah. Detail level, great. Okay, so how much do you feel like you understand what this means, right? With polygenic inheritance means right now? 0 to 10, go for it. 3, 2, 1, and hit us. You people are slow today. 6, Retriever says. So you need better. Okay. Sometimes I find it useful when I'm working on a lesson to think that there's 2 different directions that I could go. I could try to make something more interesting, or I could try to help people understand it more clearly. The secret is that those are not actually different things in the end. Sometimes I think Egan education is misunderstood as, oh, it's a way to make it gee whiz and neat and nifty, but really we need to be clear about education. Yes, that's totally correct. Okay, so right now I'm going to aim toward what feels like the clearer way and understand that this is actually going to be more interesting also. If I'm trying to get more clarity from this, I think what I want to specifically do is go to the stories thing. I want to see specifically the origin of where this where this understanding of genes comes from and what we were struggling with before we understood this. So, camera and screen. Please tell me the story of the person who first came up with polygenic inheritance, with that idea. Tell me what happened before he or she came up with that idea. Tell me what people were struggling with in the before times of this. As you tell me the story of that individual originator as a heroic figure and pattern the story off of some binary emotional opposite. Binary emotional opposites are these things like, do I not have binaries on here? That's dumb. Wow. Binaries are things like good versus evil, or happy versus sad, or safe versus in danger, or inclusion versus exclusion, or whatever. All good stories, literally all good stories under almost any same definition, have a couple of those at the core of it. To get ChatGPT to be a good storyteller, meaning tell you stories that you actually want to keep reading and that you're going to understand more easily natively and that you are going to remember better. You want to tell it to make its stories on binary opposites. Camera plus screen. The heroic journey of Francis Galton, the birth of polygenic inheritance. Really? It was Galton? That's shocking. Oh, but that makes sense. Do you know what Galton is? Super controversial figure. Also, his fingerprints are all over modern science. Also, I don't know. He gets a worse rap than he deserves. Although some of the things that he said I'm not going to in any way stand up for. Also, some of the definitions of words have changed, and he gets dinged on some things that meant something different in his time. Once upon a time in the world of genetics, in the late 19th century, 1800s, the scientific community was abuzz with discoveries about how traits were passed from parents to children. Gregor Mendel, through his meticulous pea plant experiments, had unveiled the basic laws of inheritance. Do you know the story? We could talk about this, but we probably won't for time right now. Yet as brilliant as Mendel's findings were, they couldn't explain everything. Traits like height, skin color, and intelligence didn't follow simple patterns. They varied smoothly across populations, puzzling scientists everywhere. Just to kind of state this in an important way, Mendel was this Franciscan Dominican, I think, monk in Austria, who was doing work in the late 1800s where he was experimenting with pea plants. If you took this kind of pea plant and you made it have sex with this kind of pea plant, like what would their peas be, right? And you'd find out that, it's weird. It's actually really weird because you could have like this one that has like yellow peas and this one has green peas, and you put them together and you think, they're going to have like a yellowish greenish pea, right? No, that is not what you find. What you actually find is that some of their babies have yellows and some of them have greens. Except that sometimes it gets even weirder. With some traits, I'm going to just use the green pea, yellow pea thing again. It's not like some have one or the other, but nothing in between. It's like green and yellow make green. All the babies are green, or green and yellow make yellow, but none of the babies are the other color. So that was really interesting. That showed that there were these individual objects that are somehow involved in mating. We call them now genes. Did he call them genes? He might have. Gene from a Greek word that means to birth, gune. But people were excited about this. We had discovered genes. They were these theoretical units. Nobody knew what DNA was. No one knew that DNA was the part of a cell that actually made the genetic inheritance pass through. They had no idea of the double helix. They had no idea of like what these molecules were. They were these abstract theoretical entities like bits or something like that in computer science. But people were like, well, look, but like it's not like some humans are tall and other humans are short. Right? Like people can be found in anything. And in fact, what Galton does is he comes up with this idea of the bell curve. The bell curve is his invention. I think that's true. Where like people just like differ in the sort of normal way. The normal divergence from a norm is actually super duper common. It is the norm. The dark cloud of unanswered questions. Before Francis Galton stepped into the scene, biologists faced the conundrum. Mendelian genetics worked perfectly for traits that were easily categorized, like flower seed or seed shape, but fell short when it came to more complex characteristics. Scientists struggled how to understand how multiple factors could influence a single trait, leading to frustration and confusion. The scientific world was in desperate need of a new perspective to bridge the gap between Mendel's discrete inheritance and the continuous variation observed in nature. Enter Francis Galton, the beacon of light. Galton, a brilliant and determined thinker. It doesn't mention that he's cousins with Charles Darwin. Saw the limitations of existing genetic theories. Born into a family of explorers and scholars and activists. Anti-slavery activists. Galton inherited a thirst for knowledge and a passion for understanding human abilities and behaviors. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Galton approached the problem with a unique blend of creativity and analytical prowess. The battle against complexity and confusion. He faced a formidable challenge: how to explain the gradual differences in traits that couldn't be pinned down to single genes. Undeterred by complexity, he delved into the study of statistical methods, developing techniques like regression and correlation. These tools allowed him to analyze how multiple factors could collectively influence a single trait, laying the groundwork for what would become polygenetic inheritance. Hold on. I feel like I didn't actually understand that paragraph. Is it because I didn't say anything? The gradual differences in traits. This is just his challenge. So then he dove? Never sure. So he had to develop techniques like regression and correlation. Do you know what these techniques are? These are the functions of statistics. He had to invent statistics to explain genetics. And he is understood to be the father of statistics. By the way, there's a book out a couple of years ago called Measurement, how measurement explains the world. I just finished it. It's really good. A whole chapter on him. triumphed through innovation. With his innovative statistical approaches, Galton illuminated the path forward. He proposed that traits such as height and intelligence were not governed by one gene alone, but by many genes working in harmony. This revolutionary idea explained the continuous variation that had long baffled scientists. Galton's work was a beacon of clarity, transforming the field of genetics and paving the way for future discoveries. Legacy of a hero. Galton's journey from confusion to clarity. I feel like we don't, but like we haven't heard this story. We could prompt it and ask it for this story. Symbolizes the triumph of perseverance and ingenuity over complexity and uncertainty. His introduction of polygenetic inheritance, we should look up that word, not only resolved long-standing scientific debates, but also expanded our understanding of human diversity. Galton's heroic, this is true, although he said some controversial things about diversity. Galton's heroic legacy lives on, although some really great things too, inspiring scientists to continue exploring the intricate tapestry of genetics. Okay, then it actually says, even though we didn't ask about this, for like what the opposites are. Confusion versus clarity. Yeah, people didn't know it and then they knew it. Frustration versus triumph. They didn't do a good job of actually showing that. I don't really care about that one. Darkness versus light. It's kind of the same thing as complexion. Confusion versus clarity. Okay. Conclusion. Yeah. Okay. How happy are you with that? How much now do you feel like you understand what is actually going on in the story, in the understanding polygenetic inheritance? Give me a 0 to 10. Go for it. Atlas is at a 7. Shannon is at an 8. Okay. That's better. That's actually really good. If I asked you right now, here, actually do this. Throw this in here. What is polygenetic inheritance? Go for it. Try it. This is, of course, something that's useful if you are teaching yourself something, just to keep asking, okay, what is this? How would I explain this to a child? Which, of course, we can ask ChatGPT to do as well, although I think we got most of the goodness that it would give for that. I feel like because this is it's a pattern in the world. This is not like a specific gene, right? We could have done that instead. Rather, this is like a category almost, a principle, a pattern. It would be really good to get clear as to what sorts of things are in this category and which sorts of things are not. If I had to put some Egan to that, I want general schemes. I want to know what is in and what is out. Categories, too, would be one of his for this. Okay. I have to keep reminding myself this is not actually a lesson right now. I want to ask you, like, so what kind of traits do you think would be polygenic versus, well, whatever the opposite of that is? We should actually ask it that. We should also ask us to give us the story of how this specific word was coined, right? This is another sort of origin story to understand this well. So, what specifically are the roots in the phrase polygenetic inheritance? Poly means many. Genetic means origin, race, or kind. The word kind there, it's actually related etymologically to the word kind, also kin, gin, gen, might be the most helpful because we're talking about different variation here. But also genes, inheritance means to inherit. Yeah, it means to inherit. Great. So inheritance means to inherit. Okay, it's kind of garbage, isn't it? I could actually try to get where that word comes from. I don't know if I care because you know what that means. We have limited time. Multiple genes involved, transmission from parent to offspring. Wow, sorry. So I'm going to just show you right now. This is an irritating model. I'm going to use the more basic model. It just like gives you an unnecessary term paper for this by, it's just dumb. It's just dumb. Okay, so do this. You know, it'd be more fun, and I've never done this, for doing this next part, is instead of just having it give us examples, Rather, Egan never writes this in here, but games are, strictly speaking, inside of this. Oh, I'm not sharing the right thing. But games are a tool inside of mythic understanding, right? Mythic understanding is the kind of understanding that people have had since we've been people, depending on how you define people. We've had it since we've had language at the very least, and we've had games for that. Maybe arguably even before that, but at least into that, even complex games. So let's do a quiz game with this. Let's have ChatGPT give us questions about a trait, and we have to guess whether it's polygenetic or... What's the opposite of polygenetic? Monogenetic, single gene. Very good. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's do this. Sorry, I've become obsessed with, but still, I should not be as translucent as I am. Okay. That's better. That's more to my liking. Okay, very good. All right, so here is how I'm going to try to do this. I've never done this before. I've kind of wanted to, so let's see this. Act as a... I'm going to stop this. I don't want it to act as anything. I was about to say like a game show host or something like that, but I realized it will just make this way too complicated. Think about which human traits are polygenetic versus which are monogenetic. Don't, however, tell me those. Rather, give me one of them and ask me whether it is monogenetic or polygenetic. I'll answer M for mono and P for poly. Please then tell me whether I'm right or wrong. I feel like I didn't even need to say all of that. But let's see. Ooh, wow, great. Is eye color monogenetic or polygenetic? Quick, M or P? Throw it in here. Oh, I see. Thank you, Golden Retriever. You've spoiled this question for us. Good to have you here. Everyone's saying P for this. I'm going to type in P. I don't think that's right. What? Oh. The funny thing is we colloquially, that is true. We colloquially think about eye color being colloquially. We typically think of eye color as being just because of one gene, right? You have a gene for either blue eyes or brown eyes. The trouble is green-eyed people truly do exist. Also, like different shades of each of these things exist also, right? So it's not just one gene, and even though it is kind of the poster child for just like one gene sort of thing, it is many of them. Note that this did not do a very particularly good job of explaining this for us, okay? But I'll just say another. I wonder if I would have happened if I gotten it wrong. Cystic fibrosis. Go for it. MP. I was talking to a PhD MD last week about cystic fibrosis. About why it's always hard for me to remember what it is because it is its name is terrible. Cystic means a cyst, and fibrosis means like fibrous, like really hard. And it was first discovered. We now think of it as a disease of the lungs, but it was first discovered for whatever reason in people's livers, spleens, kidneys, something like that, where these little cysts would grow in there. Okay, so people are guessing P. I'm going to put that down. I happen to know that it's M. Do I know that? I don't think that I actually know that. I'm guessing, however, that it's M, mono, one gene. Weird illnesses weird sort of famous illnesses have an oddly high chance of being one gene. Huntington's is the most famous one. So we'll say P for this. Because you guys said P, and it says... Okay, so cystic fibrosis is monogenic, not monogenetic. Huh. It is caused by mutations in a single gene. You can't see this because I, in fact, have done a bad job of this, right? The CFTR gene, which follows a Mendelian pattern of inheritance. So you either have it or you don't. You can get a genetic test, 23andMe or whatever, and you can tell, like, will I get cystic fibrosis or not? Now, I'm not a doctor, but like that is my understanding of how that works. Let's do one more. Or one Merope. Note that it actually understood my totally misspelling that. Is height monogenic or polygenic? Go for it. Why is my ChatGPT so slow? It's not now. It was before because I had it on a different model for this. The O1 preview and the O1 mini, specifically what they do is I don't think they've actually formally said what they're doing when they do it, but it's something like it breaks your question down. It almost asks itself, what sorts of things should I know in order to answer this question well? And then it asks itself that question, and then it like ChatGPTs each of those things. And then from that corpus, it combines them together and gives you a sort of report of them. The interesting thing is that it went from 4.0, which is the most straightforwardly the best model right now. That was able to get in some sort of major math competition, something like 15% of the practice problems correct. The new one, which is not more powerful, it just does this trick before it, right? It was able to get like 85% of the math problems right. But it's not better for all things. It's just better for thinking. That's why it was slow for math. No, it's not Zoom taking computer resources. Last question was a bit slow? No, I doubt it. New computer. It might actually be that ChatGPT is slow right now, right? Depending on how many people are using it. That can be a thing with it. Maybe you're right. Okay, sorry. So people are saying poly, and that is in fact, correct in this. Okay, geez. How much do you feel like you understand this? 0 to 10. 9.8. I feel like these examples, they were all right. They were fine. They weren't great, though. I'm thinking if we wanted to make these even better, we need to go to the bizarre. We need to go to the world of extremes. So I'm wondering, how could we even, I guess the way of asking this would be to ask ChatGPT this. I'm interested in extreme effects that can be caused by a single gene. Look throughout the animal kingdom and tell me about the most all-transformative effects that a single gene can have. Because I want to kind of research this, I'm going to do it for preview right now. I will tell you that I know that there's a difference between preview and mini, and I don't know what that difference is. I used to, and then I forgot. Thinking, investigating transformative effects. I should have said maybe ones that were not just bad. Because, lots of genes will kill you. But I'm interested in, like, genes that have evolved as adaptive. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is the common fruit fly. Scientists study them a lot because they are cheap and they die fast and are born fast. You can do a lot of science fast. A mutation in this one random gene causes fruit flies to grow legs where their antennas should be. Legs where their antenna should be. Well, if it isn't my old friend, Mr. McGregor, with a leg for an arm and an arm for a leg. That's pretty big. Hox genes are weird. They're, we use them too. They're famous in centipedes and whatever. They tell your body, when you're an embryo, like where to grow, where to activate this whole set of genes. And so they end up with placement of where body parts are. Myostatin. Myo means muscle. Statin, gene mutation in animals. Loss of function muscles. Oh, to excessive muscle growth. Double muscled animals. Certain breeds of cattle like the Belgian blue, as well as in some mice and some dog breeds, show how a single gene regulates muscle development and growth inhibition. Yeah. Sonic hedgehog gene. Invertebrates. Yeah, it really is called SHH after Sonic the Hedgehog. Mutations in it can cause severe developmental abnormalities, like a formation of a single eye. Oh, cyclopia, or the failure of the forebrain, your front brain, to divide properly. Why the heck is it called the Sonic the Hedgehog gene? There's a reason for it. I read about this once. Oh my gosh! Maybe the biggest one in all animals, period. The Y gene. Sorry. The SRY gene, the sorry gene, the sex determining region Y gene. SRY is what it's been called. It's on chromosome 15, I think, or 13. It is the thing that makes you have a male pattern of development. You think, well, it's the testosterone. Yeah, but what triggers the testosterone? Well, it's the Y chromosome. Not true. You can actually, there's very rarely, there are some people who have double X chromosomes, but they have male bodies, totally male bodies, down to every last piece of that. What the heck is the difference there? It's because they had this one gene jump off of their Y chromosome and go onto one of the other chromosomes. And so even if they don't have the Y chromosome, they still get male bodies. And you can have people who are XY. I forget the name of this CIS, I think. No, it's different. But they are XY, but they have a broken gene, a broken SRY gene. Wow, so one thing can make such a big difference. There's other ones here. We could look at this. Eye developments. Wow. Lactase persistence. It's just one? Sorry, do you know what I'm talking about? I mean, how most people around the world, like 2/3 of people, 3/4 of people, 5/6 of the people, something like that, are not able to, if you give them milk or ice cream or softer cheeses when they're adults, they'll get sick. All mammals can do human milk when we're babies. Well, all humans can do human milk when we're babies, but most people can't do it when they're adults. We're not evolved for that, except some of us are. A fraction of the world's people are. Western Europe, but then also some parts of Central Africa, also some parts of Northern Africa, some parts of some other parts of the world too. I forget. And this is an evolutionary thing that's happened in the last couple thousand years. Yeah, but it's just this literal one gene. If you have it or if you don't, that's so cool. Okay, do you see how now this is why the heck didn't I start with this? Why we're like, oh, let's do a game. You want to know the reason that Egan didn't put game in most of his lists of his tools? It's because he's like, teachers, they use games terribly. Like they use games to like make something super exciting, but like really like you should like dig down deeper into the thing that you're studying. Like that should be what's exciting. Then if you want to turn it into a game, cool, great, wonderful. But like games can be used in place of things being interesting. And I totally fell into that. Okay. I feel this need right now to mention the fact that, hey, like we are trying to come up with a lesson for this. I feel like a lot of what we've done right now is maybe because many of you, my current and former students are in this. I've been pulled toward doing this as sort of a self-learning thing. I need to turn this into a lesson now. Here is what I will suggest. At the beginning, we had a question. We didn't know what polygenetic inheritance was. And now we do. Although note that the things that we've just been focusing on are the opposite of that. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Because they're the interesting ones. Polygenetic is the normal, boring way of genes working, where like all sorts of genes will work together. Okay, so how can we Eganize that? without going to its opposite, although its opposite is really important. I'm thinking in terms of binaries. I'm thinking in terms of emotions. I'm thinking in terms of disaster. I'm thinking in terms of role play. Okay, so to understand let's understand polygenetic inheritance the old-fashioned way, by being a mad scientist trying to fuse humans and bats, making a new species of bat-like human. We've all been there. Here's what I'll do. Note that role play is another one of the things that we could, that we could have written in here, that could be in here. Role play. Where would role play be? I mean, I guess in some ways it is a form of playing in general. Erasing. In general, note that even people who are deaf and mute and do not have the ability to understand human language, technically such people can. You think of Helen Keller. She had a gifted teacher, famously. Most people growing up with that condition throughout human history would not be able to learn to understand other people's speaking if they cannot hear and cannot talk. But if they can see, they still, this is I believe this to be an anthropological fact, they still can do the thing where they sort of apprentice under somebody. They follow somebody around, and they take on their role in the society, like we all sort of do. This is a really deep aspect of Egan, is, okay, look to see what somebody else has done before and see if you can do it. We're going to integrate this with some nonsense, and we are going to get ChatGPT to tell us the story of somebody who comes to understand the complexity of genes that go into trying to change any single trait. Here, so I'll even say, we said to do bats, right? Is it that we want to give human wings? Yes. 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 Okay. Let's see if this can work as our piece de resistance. And then I'm going to ask you some questions about how well this whole sort of lesson sort of has been. I think I'm still like, what's the lesson though exactly? Okay, here it comes. Now I want you to create a story that is about a mad scientist who is trying to engineer humans to have bat-like wings. I want you to tell the story as the descent from someone who is very idealistic about being able to find the quote-unquote bat wing gene to make humans have wings, and who slowly experiments and finds out that actually wings are a polygenic trait. Be sure to wade in the macabre, in the grotesque, and imagine with me the horrifying experiences that someone might have in doing this. At the end, make it a happy story about how, by understanding polygenic inheritance, or possibly polygenetic inheritance, we can learn to make life better. Big money. Big money, 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 Hey, I can make this bigger, can't I? The winged ambition of Dr. Victor Armand Chapter 1, The Lofty Dream. Dr. Victor Armand was a renowned geneticist, celebrated for his groundbreaking research in gene editing. Fascinated by the marvels of nature, he often gazed at the night sky, watching bats swoop and dive with effortless grace. If only humans could experience such freedom, he mused. That's what he sounds like in my head. Yours too. Driven by an idealistic vision to elevate humanity, he set out an audacious quest to bestow humans with bat-like wings. Chapter 2, The Discovery of the Wing Gene. Oh, no! Convinced that a single gene held the answer. Oh, good. Dr. Armand delved into the genomes of bats and birds, searching for the elusive wing gene. It sounds dumb when you say it like this. After months of tireless research, he believed he'd found it, a gene he dubbed Alarius, because that ale means to fly. Elated, that means to fly too. He thought, comes with the same root, he thought, this is it, the gene that will let humans soar. Chapter 3, The First Experiments. In a secluded laboratory, far from prying eyes, Dr. Armand began his experiments. He introduced Alarius into animal models, expecting miraculous transformations. At first, there were signs of success, slight elongations. This is good! In limb bones, subtle changes in muscle density, but the results were inconsistent and often grotesque. Chapter 4, I mean, we could actually ask it to now create a cartoon illustration of what some of the grotesque results might have looked like. Oh, this is so long! But I'm going to read the next part of this because it's awesome. Frustration gnawed at him as experiments failed repeatedly. The creatures he engineered bore twisted limbs, malformed bones, and unusable flaps of skin. They were neither fully animal nor something else, a haunting testament to his hubris. The lab became a gallery of shadows, echoes of whimpers, and the stench of antiseptic mingled with something far more unsettling. This is so good! The macabre, or macabre, either way, realization. One stormy night, while reviewing his data amidst flickering lights, Dr. Armand stumbled upon a pattern. The development of wings wasn't dictated by a single gene, but influenced by many, dozens, perhaps hundreds, interacting in complex ways. True. Wings were a polygenetic trait. His single gene approach was futile. As this realization dawned, the weight of his failures crushed him. The sight of his creations, their pleading eyes and contorted forms, filled with horror. What have I done? He whispered, as lightning illuminated the rows of cages housing his suffering subjects. Then he confronts it. Tears streaming down his face. It's very bad. He abandoned. No, he doesn't. Maybe he could do it. Oh, this is wrong. He couldn't do it alone. Reached out. Ethicists, geneticists. Respect life. Ethical path forward. I don't like how it just turned into ethical. I mean, if you're ethical, maybe you just don't do this, right? It seems cheap. Oh, this is a nice little twist. It doesn't work. Reclaim their lives and soar in their own ways. I love that. Perhaps, he thought, this was the flight I was meant to give humanity. Oh, that's so nice. Okay, great, wonderful. You can take a look. You can maybe, wait, this isn't an actual, oh, sorry. The search models, the sort of the researching models, they don't actually have that principle of or they don't tap into being able to give pictures. I think that's the correct thing. So instead, they described it. Now that I switch back to 4.0, no, I mean illustrate using cartoony watercolors and a techno synth vibe the picture I asked for. Okay, so we'll come back to that if it actually succeeds in doing this. I have some questions for you. Where is my Zoom window? Chat, participants, show captions, polls, quizzes. Here comes. Got 3 questions. First one is, how accurate would you guess this lesson plan is? So 0 to 6. I'll actually try to draw this in here. For each of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then there's a 6th one right here. 0 will mean just lies, 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 lies. None of this is right. We got this totally wrong. We've been better asking, I don't know, Satan himself to, I'm just trying to think of who archetypically lies, to do it. And 5 is like wonderful. That's not how you write words. And 6 is like even better than you'd hope. 6 is like extra for this. How accurate would this be? Okay. How do I do the next? Oh, sorry. And then the next one is how emotion grabbing is this? So now 0 would be like you are snoozing. Why did it switch to this? Something up is on. 0 is like you were snoozing. This was not like my presentation of this, but like if this were turned into a lesson, and I guess we did not actually unpack exactly how that lesson plan should go. So boo on us. This is like, oh my gosh, the most boring possible way of learning about this. 5 would be amazing, and 6 would be even more than you would hope on this. And this is extra. Amazing. Just pretend that it says amazing. In my own script that I'm not going to tell you because you were mean to me when I drew that. And then the final question is how much does this connect to life, the universe, and everything? I think I mean that in the way of like, how much does this feel like this actually matters? The idea of it, I don't know. I'm going to say this kind of loosely. Part of Egan's idea is that everything matters. Everything matters to somebody. Maybe we need to fictionalize it in order to make it hypothetically matter. Maybe this actually has mattered. Now, I'll point out that you are literally a bunch of genes that are working together in no obvious way. So like this is you. You are polygenic or polygenic inheritance. But how well did everything that we did so far actually get at how that would be? From this is just like isolated again with this. Is it? Oh, I tap it. I double tap it. I squeeze it. I double tap it. I double tap one part of it. Yes, that makes the difference. Good to know. Sorry, it's a new model of the pencil. This is isolated, and this is like a religious experience. Okay, so the results are in. I will end the poll. Take a look at the, I need to do this in a way that actually averages it or something like that in the future. Good to know. Okay. I will give this. On the question of lies to wonderful, the accuracy question, we had one person say a 4, and we had 2 people say a 6. So that means I think that averages out at least to a 5, well, a bit more, 5 1/3. That's great. So this is good. Now, maybe if the person of you who's a 4 is a geneticist, and you're like, yeah, okay, maybe your vote should count for more. But it seems like we actually did a good job with this. This is the sort of thing that ChatGPT knows a lot about. Okay, how about the snoozing to exciting? We have one person saying 6 and 2 people saying 5 for that one. So this is good. We've apparently gotten something that is very interesting and could make this. I'll stick around for a minute and I'll tell my regrets in this, but only later. And then finally, the isolated versus religious experience of this. Oh, no, this is interesting. This is definitely the most balanced of these, and also the lowest of these. So isolated versus religious experience. I think that here. So good. This is a fail. Fail. I guess it averages out to a 4. Maybe averaging out to a 4 is not failing at this. I will say the formal end is now for this. Next week we are doing, what are we doing? Oh, don't stick around afterwards. I'll show you the terrifying pictures of these, and you can tell how well you think this did or not. I will say that next week we are doing, which is to say this Thursday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. We're doing history. I've had a lot of people ask me to make history interesting. How do you make history interesting? I will show you how to make history interesting. So I will now just stick around for a minute and say that the thing that I wish I had done a better job of is I think that somebody could make lessons from what we've just talked about. But I feel like we didn't give lessons for this. I feel like in some ways this is hard for me because I run a science teaching business. If I were to do this, the way that I would do this is just to ask like, well, if I were to do this, I'd do something more. But the way that I might suggest this is to have a simple question, and I'll draw this out. And the question be something like, what's genetic? I'm still unclear. Polygenetic inheritance. I'm not, I can either think about talking or think about writing. I can't do both of those. I'd have that question. And then I'd try to come up with the most insane possible definition of it, which is literally true, which gets at these things. You know what? I'm going to see, can ChatGPT do this? First, I'll show you the terrifying picture. No, I'll do that second. I will do that second because one thing at a time. What I want to say, taking everything that we've just learned about polygenetic inheritance, please answer the question, what is polygenetic inheritance? However, please use metaphors and vivid mental images to give the answer in the form of a very short sentence using only a 5th grade vocabulary that nevertheless highlights some of the most far-reaching effects of what polygenetic inheritance is. Make the answer shocking. Make the answer something that is deeply true and yet is the sort of thing that somebody who kind of understood what it was would still be surprised by. I don't know if this will become up good or not. Here's what I got for it. It's like painting a sunset with thousands of tiny colors, where no one color can make the sky glow, but together they create something as beautiful and as unpredictable as life itself. It's garbage, right? I think that's garbage. I think the trouble with this, right, is that having it be a sunset, like one gene can really screw you up. I don't know that can happen with a sunset. Maybe a little bit of green messes up the sunset. I don't know, but it's still like, it's kind of the same sort of thing. I feel like that's not very good. If we wanted to go through with this, we could talk with it and I could raise that objection. And then we could maybe change it back to the higher, actually. Oh, now that I've done the picture, it disallows these. So I can't, I'd have to redo that whole conversation or something like that. I think the lesson could, if we were to do this actually as a lesson, could end with a metaphor like this, where either the student was trying to guess that metaphor. This is what I do in Science is Weird, right? If one were doing this oneself, I suppose that you could try to ask the question and answer the question in terms of a metaphor, to come up with the best possible metaphor. This is something that you could just ask ChatGPT, give me metaphors on this, and then you could say, now critique those metaphors. You could even ask it to give you metaphors. Oh my gosh! I'm going to start a new conversation here because I can't stop myself. This is so cool. Act as a hard-nosed geneticist who always says things that are technically accurate, but who, however, speaks at a 5th grade reading level. Please create a number of different metaphors for what polygenetic inheritance is. Make the metaphors capture different aspects of polygenetic inheritance. Make them show the complexity of life, and make at least one of them help us understand who we are in a deeper way. Let's see, huh? Jigsaw puzzle. These are shallow, but maybe great. Imagine you're putting together a giant jigsaw puzzle. Instead of just having one box, you're pulling pieces from many different boxes. Each box adds a little bit to the final picture, Polygenic inheritance works the same way. Lots of genes contribute small pieces to the final picture of who you are. I don't know if that makes sense at all, but I did in this one. I repeat the question. Let's see the difference of these. By the way, the other ones were light dimmers. Each one kind of dims it or whatever, but it's one trait in the end. I guess like height is one trait, and so you have a bunch of things that kind of do that. Yeah, that's a standard metaphor for this. A recipe with many chefs. Maybe orchestra. Oh, that's interesting. Each musician plays a part. That's not terrible. Mosaic. Yeah, okay, no, because then each gene is its own traits. Okay, the metaphor works in different ways. DNA quilt. Oh, come on now. Gene orchestra of light, deeper insight. Imagine your genes as musicians not just playing any tune, they're playing the melody of your life. None of the musicians stand alone. They don't play a single note that defines you. Instead, they harmonize, blend, and together create the song that tells the story of who you are. The song reflects not only your physical traits, but also the parts of you that think, feel, and what. This is just romantic doggerel. I don't like it. Okay, now let's see if this is any better, the higher one. By the way, the higher one is only available if you pay for ChatGPT. I think it's still $20 a month. 20 of the best dollars I spend every month. Mixing paint colors. Oh, no, that's interesting. Imagine you have many different colors of paints. When you mix them all together, you get a new color. Each paint adds a bit to the final shade. Polygenic, I think it was always polygenic. Inheritance works like this. Many genes blend together to create traits like your eye color or height. I like that because, like if you're trying to make a greenish color, if you add a bit more if you add a bit more yellow, that's one thing. If you add some orange, that's really a very different thing, right? Team effort. Oh, well, that's actually kind of right. This is good. Huh. And you can actually, there are ways of conceptualizing the genes where they are the true agents of evolution. Dawkins' book, The Selfish Gene, is all about this. So in some ways, maybe this is literally true. Building with blocks. Picture building a tower with many blocks. Each block adds to the height of the tower. Okay. Recipe with many ingredients. When baking a cake. Oh, not chefs, ingredients. When baking a cake, you need flour, sugar, eggs, and more. This is actually interesting because some of these things, you change them a little bit and everything changes. Other ones, you can change them a lot and not that much changes. Garden of flowers, volume, knowledge, and a stereo. That's the same ones before. The puzzle of you. Okay, this one and we're done. Think of yourself as a big puzzle made up of many tiny pieces. Each puzzle piece is a gene. Alone one piece doesn't show much, but all the pieces fit together to make a complete picture. I don't feel that there's nothing that's particularly polygenetic or monogenetic about this. Okay, so not as good. Okay, better, but not life-changing. Okay, so now I go back to my conversations, and I will go to this one, and we will see. Feel free to cover your eyes at this. The picture that it made up for us on this. Perhaps one should not play God. You wake up in the morning and you think, but then you're like, Put it the bats are just bats that look big, right? And colorful, and they have scales on their wings. They actually kind of have that, actually. And they're withered, right? So, okay, great, they're withered. We have these monstrosities and the things there. Ugh. And you think, why even? Yeah, it is gross. And you think even why would I show that? Why would you even want to do that? And the answer is, genes are gross. It's actually really easy to come with an understanding. It's easy to read about genes and see them as these sort of neat little Legos that do these things, and as if by magic they make all these changes or whatever. I have this one gene that gives me this color of hair, or I have this other gene that does this, other gene that does this. But really, most of the genes have these weird effects, and they all work together in these unpredictable ways. And actually, when you just start changing genes willy-nilly, it's not like you start, adding a third eye on or something like that. Not usually. But you get really gross stuff. Honestly, Egan actually wrote about this in passing in at least maybe only one essay ever. But he talks about how in education, when we talk about emotions in education, first of all, we don't usually talk about them very much. Secondly, when we talk about them, we're like, okay, frustration. How do we get beyond frustration? Or how do we make people feel confident? Egan is all about the wonder. Egan is all about like the sense of like deep connection and kinship that we have with things, and like the thrill of discovery, the sense of like the unveiling of the heavens. But also, he said, insofar as we take those seriously, we should also take horror seriously. He says once, in this one thing, that there are things in the world that actually should evoke a feeling of horror, or at least can, and are useful to us. It's how we learn about, I don't know, the Hiroshima, the Holocaust, right? The Crusades, all sorts of things. And this is actually probably an important time to do them. Okay, everybody, thanks. This has been good. Well done, everybody. Hope to see you next time on Thursday. Toodles.